So my name is Sarah Martin and I'm from Australia, Melbourne, Australia. I initially started with breast cancer back in 2008. So I've been living with cancer for about 15 years now, and it came back in my peritoneal cavity about 3 years ago. So initially I started with obviously getting my diagnosis, and that was quite a shock. I was only 42 years old.
Yeah.
And
That was the breast cancer.
that was the breast cancer, and that was in the left breast initially. And after further tests, they actually told me I was a manufacturer of cancer because I had certain cells in my right breast that were going to turn into cancer. So it was decided that I'd have a double mastectomy, and that happened pretty quickly. And from there, well, at the same time, I had a reconstruction. And so I was in hospital for some time with that. And then very soon after that, I was supposed to start chemotherapy. You've got to wait a certain amount of time. I think it was 6 to 8 weeks for the healing process of the scars to repair before you could start doing chemotherapy. And that was just prior to meeting my oncologist. It was discovered that a very, very small cyst that I'd had in one of my ovaries had grown very quickly. So everyone went into panic mode in case, thinking it was cancer. So then my oncologist, I did meet him, but before chemo could go ahead, we then had to get in touch with my gynecologist. And I remember it was a Friday, late afternoon by this stage, and my oncologist called my gynecologist and had a quick chat on the phone. I was then sent to him. A discussion with him turned into I was going to have a hysterectomy. I'd already had my children, so I was okay with that, but the fear was that the cyst would burst and it would be cancerous. So as it was, I did have a full hysterectomy, and the cyst was just a cyst. It wasn't cancerous, but it was good to obviously get rid of it. Yeah. That then turned into a very quick cycle of being thrown into menopause, and again just had to wait. It was close to Christmas, but we decided to go ahead and start chemotherapy on the 23rd of December so that I could actually be home for Christmas, and that's how it all kind of unfolded. So this was, from September to Christmas to then beyond, starting the new year with chemotherapy, 2008. So after chemotherapy, I then went on to a hormone therapy, so it was an oral tablet, and that first one was called Arimidex. So I was on that for 5 years. The downside to Arimidex is it damages your bones, so that creates or can create osteoporosis. Thank you very much. So I ended up finishing that after 5 years, and then went on to the next medication after that for another 5 years. And just as my 10-year mark evolved, I found out that my cancer had come back in my peritoneal cavity. So that would have been, that was 3 years ago. Yeah, so 2020. So multiple chemotherapies were tried and failed. And then just before coming here, my doctor decided that it would be an idea to try immunotherapy, which was a drug called Keytruda. So I had one go at that before coming here, because I'd already decided to come here. So I found out about Verita Life through word of mouth. Someone I know that goes to a clinic where I have IV treatment in Melbourne. We talked about it, and then I looked into it further. I read all the testimonials on the website at the time, and did a bit more research on how Verita Life works, and then made the decision to make the call. But I actually contacted Verita Life through their website, and then Eve contacted me, and we had discussions about making appointments to have a chat with Dr. Hassami. So that was booked in, and the first one was booked in, and funny enough, that just happened after my first immunotherapy treatment at home. We had another discussion only days later, and then okay, this is what I need to do. I felt that in Australia I'd come to the end of, let's just say, what they could offer me, and I didn't know how this immunotherapy was going to work. And my oncologist had said that we have to give it 3 months to work, so to see if it's going to work or not. Well, by that stage I felt like I was knocking on death's door. So I thought, well, after discussing it with Dr. Hassami, I could continue the immunotherapy treatment here whilst I did other treatments here as well. So I had daily local hypothermia on my abdomen, and I had a therapy called natural killer cell therapy, and that is a really important one for me, and the combination of the two seemingly has done the trick. So with the natural killer therapy treatment, that was a matter of drawing blood, which got sent to a lab, and it was harvested. So that means that my natural killer cells, which we all have, were harvested, so then they could be given back to me via an IV drip, which essentially gave my immune system more fuel to kill the cancer. And I have also had various IV treatments daily as well. But I feel that the natural killer cell therapy and certainly the local hypothermia, which we can get in Australia, but you couldn't do it every day like you can here. I think those two in particular really helped. And then the other IV drips that I had, there are multiple different kinds. I mean, obviously everyone has different ones, but they built up my immune system. And I had a thing called ascites, which is a build-up of fluid in my abdomen caused from the cancer, and that stopped me from eating. So back home in Australia, my stomach was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was just fluid build-up, and it was pushing against my organs. So I couldn't eat very much at all, and certainly not solid food, and I would vomit that back up. So with all the treatments that I've had here, it's reduced the ascites, and I also had to go to hospital to have ascites tapping, they call it, so that where the fluid is actually taken out of you. And with the staff here as well, we got taken to the hospital, which is a really good thing because obviously there's a language barrier. So all of the associated documents were filled out on my behalf. I didn't have to do any of that other than that sign at the end and just hope that I was signing the right thing. So that happened each time I went to the hospital, which I was really, really grateful for because I think that took a lot of pressure off. I mean, I was almost skeletal when I came here. And if you were to see a photo of me back then, and as you can see me now, and it's only it sounds like a long time, 3 months, but when we say in weeks, and we say 12 weeks, and today is the end of my 12th week, it's gone by very quickly. And when you come and you're in a position where you feel that you're going to die, just receiving the food, even just to have 3 meals provided for you every single day, it's quite amazing. I think on an everyday basis, with when you're at home, even to take yourself off to the supermarket and to think about what you're going to prepare every day, when you don't have the energy to do any of it, and you even care less about eating because you're in a position where you just don't feel well enough to do it. Whereas to come to somewhere like this, where it's, I thought of coming here like I was coming to a wellness centre. So I could come here and I didn't have to think about anything at all. And even being provided with help with finding accommodation, as I said, being taken to a hospital, taken to immigration when I've had to have my visas extended. All of that has been done with a staff member. I started to feel more healthy around the end of the 4th week, maybe going into the 5th week. And when I say that, I mean I had more energy. But on the back of that is the fact that I could actually eat without, I mean, I got to a point where wherever I went, I needed to find out where the bathroom was before I started eating something.
Just in case,
Because it was, is this mouthful going to stay, or am I going to have to try and get rid of it? So around about the 5th week, when I could actually eat well, that certainly made a big difference in moving forward for me, because I became, a lot more healthy by being able to eat and keeping it down in the first place. Once I had dealt with her, and then I'd had my my 2 telephone consultations with Dr. Hassami, and we'd booked in when I was going to arrive. Then, then it was Eve that, told me what was happening. And then once I actually physically got here, then I was met by the staff members on reception there. Yeah, it was quicker than that. I mean, it ultimately comes down to your decision as to how long you make it take, I guess. But I think once you've made the decision, then it was all go within a couple of weeks. Well, the medical facilities are very, very good. I mean, you're in a clinic environment. It's all very clean. I think, well, they certainly have everything here that I needed. Whether there was other things that are around, I'm not really sure. I mean, I know there are other facilities here that I didn't get to use or didn't need to use over my 12 weeks. But the clinic itself, I mean, it is like a mini hospital. It's very clean. The staff are fantastic. I mean, my my prior experience with Thailand and Thai people has been great. I mean, they're very gentle people anyway, and that certainly fits the profile of Verita Life. They're very gentle people, very caring people. If we're talking about second opinions, for example, you know, if you get diagnosed with cancer, it's a very scary situation. Going back to 2008, for me, the big C, I didn't know anyone that had cancer other than my grandmother, my father's mother, and she died. And typically anyone that you knew with cancer, they died. Whereas now I would say to anyone, don't be frightened of cancer. I would suggest getting a second opinion. For example, you know, having a chat with Dr. Hassami, send him all your tests and information and see what he has to say for you. And don't think that cancer is just death sentence. You know, cancer is a cancer diagnosis is a great opportunity for change, and you as the person carrying cancer are the only one that can make that change, and don't be frightened of it.